Hello, my friends. Welcome to a bonus episode of the Mission 29 podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the power of words and why the book is titled Leading Jesus. Thank you for joining me, and we're going to be doing a few bonus episodes, especially with the release of the new book, but ideally we're actually going to be doing these on a monthly basis. Those of you that know me know that there's never a complete plan in place, so we're still going to be working out exactly how all of that works. So let's get into it today, talking about the power of words. I'm sure we all understand sometimes the power of the words we say, sometimes the power of the words that are said to us, the power of the words that we read. And so something that I learned of years and years ago is called the triple filter. Many people are aware of this, but just real quickly, in case you don't, you just want a refresher on it. The triple filter is 3 ways to consider what you're going to do with the information you have just received, right? Whether you've read it or you've heard it or however you got this information, how are you going to decide what you're going to do with it? Number 1, the first filter is it true? If it doesn't make it through the first filter that it's true, then you don't even need to worry about the other 2 filters. Just move on and don't worry about that information anymore. So the first filter is it true? The second filter, is it good? Is this actually good information, right? And the third filter is similar but different. Is it useful, right? There's so many things that we hear and learn today that they aren't true, they aren't good. And even if they are one of those things, they still can sometimes not be very useful, right? Some people call that a fountain of useless knowledge sometimes. But run these filters on everything that comes into your mind, right? Before it goes out of your mouth, think about it. Is it true? Is it good? Is it useful? So I'm using those filters today, speaking to you, and I believe that what I say is true. I believe that it's good, and I believe that it's useful. Now, what's interesting, after you have filtered your words, now you've gotten rid of things that you don't want to do anything with. You literally have tossed it in the garbage. It's been filtered out. Now you have what's left is true, it's good, and it's useful. So how are you going to now place these words, right? You filtered the words. Now how are you going to place them for maximum impact? Something that I have thought about for a couple of years now is about being purposely in use of powerful words, right? I think that words that will do the most good with the least amount of them. So the powerful words. Late last year, that was kind of expanded in my mind to be powerful words and precious words and plentiful words. Now, I'm going to circle around to what these are. In fact, I put them in the front of the book because one of the things that I struggled with, people have been already asking me questions about writing a book as if I am some sort of veteran now that I have written my first and only book. But one of the things that I struggled with was getting up to the standard of everyone else because the book turned out to be a little under 180 pages. And as I told my wife and I've told others, that there just isn't more to add to it. I would just be fluffing it literally for pages, right? I could put some blank pages in there, I suppose, and get some extra page count in the book, but I didn't want to do that. And so I actually wrote this in the front of the book, talking about the length of it. And I want to read this to you because my best way to not only filter what I want to say, but also say it the best way is to write it down. Some of you have been on the receiving end of my emails or other opportunities like this where I'm speaking to you, but I've scripted what I want to say, and I'm literally reading a teleprompter of my words that I've chosen. So these podcasts are not scripted. I do have some thoughts and ideas of how to get there on my many little rabbit trails to get from point A to point B, but I want to be able to do that the best way I can. So I wrote them down. I want to read a little bit of this. I'm not going to read the entire book to you, okay? But I do want to read this because I think this is important to everything and every day of our life. It says, in a world, first of all, addressing like power, resonance, and impact. In a world saturated with information, where attention spans are increasingly fragmented, I choose to prioritize impact over volume. My aim is not simply to add to the noise, it's to offer a clear, compelling, and transformative perspective on Christian leadership. This approach is driven by a deep conviction about the delicate balance between the power and weakness of words. The power and the weakness of words. So first of all, I want to talk about powerful words, right? So powerful words motivate. This is critical to remember. Powerful words motivate. They catalyze action, inspiring individuals to take initiative, shift perspectives, or overcome challenges, propelling them from a passive state to active engagement and transformation. This book is filled with these kind of words, carefully chosen to ignite a fire within the reader, to spark a desire for deeper connection with Christ and renewed commitment to kingdom leadership. My hope is that these pages will not just inform, but also inspire, prompting readers to take concrete steps toward living and leading more like Jesus. It's about igniting a spark, not flooding the reader with information that might overwhelm or distract. Now, you heard me say that, to lead like Jesus. Russ, why isn't the book called Leading Like Jesus? I'm going to explain that in just a moment once I get through the understanding that we're talking about powerful words, precious words, and plentiful words, because that really has a lot to do with the title, all right? So powerful words motivate. So precious words resonate. They ring true. Listen to this. They carry profound meaning, forging lasting emotional or intellectual connections that linger long after they've been spoken, leaving a deep and significant imprint on the heart and mind. Just think about some of the most precious things that anyone has ever said to you, and you recognize how much those words resonate. So this book is filled with these words that have resonated deeply within my own journey and that I believe will resonate with others seeking to lead with integrity and purpose. It's not about filling pages with fluff. It's about crafting words that stick, words that challenge, words that comfort, words that ultimately point to the transformative power of Christ. I believe that fewer well-chosen words, like seeds planted in fertile ground, can have a greater impact than a deluge of information that washes over the reader without taking root. And finally, let's talk about plentiful words, all right? Because you want to know why it's called Leading Jesus instead of Leading Like Jesus, right? Why is it different? Why'd you name it that? All right. Plentiful words inflate. This is one of the weaknesses of our language skills, right? So they are abundant but lack depth, often overwhelming or overstating their point. This can dilute their impact, making it difficult to discern what is truly important or meaningful. This book consciously avoids such inflation. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. It's about delivering a message that is clear, concise, and compelling. A message that can be easily grasped and readily applied. I believe that brevity can be a virtue, especially in a world where we are constantly bombarded with information. Remember, I already said that a minute ago, that we are constantly bombarded with information. It bears repeating. A concise message is more likely to be remembered, internalized, and acted upon. All right. There's a little bit more in here, but like I said, I'm not going to read the whole book to you, but I wanted to get this across to you that powerful words motivate, precious words resonate, and plentiful words inflate. So we started with the triple filter, right? So we took our information. We said, is it true? Yes. Is it good? Yes. Is it useful? Yes. Fantastic. Now we have this filtered information. How do we use it? What do we do with it? Well, some of it needs to be used in powerful words that motivate. Some of it needs to be used in precious words that resonate. Some of it is still actually plentiful words that can be beneficial, but we might be able to drop it and be more powerful and have a greater impact if we're more careful with our words. And so that brings me to the Leading Jesus name of the book. Right? It could have been Leading Like Jesus. And in fact, that's a lot of what it really is. The reason that it is named Leading Jesus, when this came to me as the download that I call it, the outline that I told my wife. I said, I've got this crazy outline. It's on take up a whole page. It's 5 parts. It's these 5 specific scenes that Jesus is in the Bible, and then how it applies. And I said, I don't know what to do with this. And I said, I think it's a book, but I've never written a book. And one of the things that has stuck with me for all of this time that I tried to figure this out, what I was going to do with this information, was these words, leading Jesus. And, the book it starts with the scene, the scripture. Every chapter you read is actually going to expound upon that and really pull you into that moment. And the reason is because I want your senses to engage, and I want you to be able to feel the crispness of the night air in the story. I want you to be able to smell the surroundings and be able to feel the humidity in the air and things that to hear the extra things that are going on. And all of that because that's how Jesus saw it, right? We read about what he was doing and what was going on around him and the impact of his ministry. But when we read about it, we need to put ourselves there. And so leading Jesus, this is from the vantage point. I want you to think about this, to be from the vantage point of Jesus himself. So that if we had been, maybe it would have been leading Russ, right? It's that personal. Make it that personal, because the way that Jesus led himself made the biggest impact to how everybody listened and paid attention and reacted and responded to him. The way that he led himself made all the difference in how people followed him, right? How he led himself and how he led others. So leading Jesus, the title, it's not leading like Jesus. I want you to experience the leadership of Jesus. That's why it's 5 leadership expressions, right? We're not trying to identify certain types and have you learn more about that. Learn the balance of these leadership expressions that are also happen to be connected to the ascension gifts, right, as well. But leading Jesus is because I don't want you to just lead like Jesus. I want you to understand what it was like for Jesus to lead himself, what it was like for Jesus to lead others. And so that's how I want you to experience this book when you read it. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I always want to remind you that Mission 29 is about writing the continuing legacy of Jesus, that his legacy is still being written today through our lives, just as if there was a 29th chapter of the book of Acts. That's what we're living today. That's what our lives are writing down today. Our story is the words that's being used. So always remember that Jesus' legacy is still being written through our lives today.